What's up, guys? This is another episode of the Midjourney Prompting Guide series that I'm doing. This is episode 3. We're going to talk about lighting, color, composition, and setting in this video. We're going to dive deep into lighting because that is super cool and important for your Midjourney prompts. So let's dive into that now. So before we actually dive into Midjourney, let's talk some theory stuff and some actual keywords that you're going to want to include to get the results that we're going to actually go through. Okay, so talking some theory stuff, let's start with setting briefly. Basically, with setting is just defining the area that the picture is going to be in. It helps also in Midjourney to talk about what's going to be in the foreground, background, midground. That can help you really take control of the image and what's going on. So that's setting briefly. Switching over to lighting, there are 3 kinds of lighting I'm going to cover here. Some people you'll see on X or other platforms kind of break it out into more, but this is what I want to do for this video. So here's natural lighting, the first of the 3. And here are some keywords that you can add to your prompts to get natural lighting. This list isn't exhaustive, but when you're writing Midjourney prompts, most people will kind of intuitively know what kind of lighting that they've seen naturally. So you can actually use things that you've seen, kind of lighting that you would describe it as, and add that to the prompt and see what happens. These are just some common ones, and I'll include some more links to other people's courses or tutorials on what kind of lighting to use as well. Okay, the next one is artificial lighting, and this can get really fun. This is where you actually have kind of more control, and you can talk about things like almost like you're in a studio if you want to, and get technical like that if you have that background, or do some kind of crazy things. It gets even crazier in special effects, which we'll talk about next. Quickly, whenever you use the word cinematic in the prompt, you have to be careful because you might get black bars on the top and bottom just because of the training. So you want to be careful with that. I also mentioned custom colored lighting, and this is where you can literally just say the 2 colors that you want, 2 colors, 3 colors, a single color, and then talk about where that light is, and it will add that kind of lighting to the image. If you have 2 colors, it'll kind of split the image sometimes or add them in different places. 1 color will probably be the whole image lit that way, so keep that in mind. Here, it also helps to know, like I was saying a minute ago, some of the technical terms for lighting. So actually reading about that might help you with your prompts here. Okay, the third one is special effects. This is where things get kind of crazy. Lens flares, bokeh, laser beams, motion blur, and some people even are able to do like light painting with light trails. And this is where you can play with some of the odd things that a camera can do, some of the more abstract things. Technically, motion blur and long exposure aren't really lighting terms, but they do have an effect on the lighting. So like if you have a car at night, the lights in a motion blur generation will kind of streak or trail, and having long exposure will do something slightly different on lighting and things that are in the image that are light based. Okay, so let's move on to shadows. Shadows are kind of the other side of lighting, and like I have backlit here, I've had that twice, but it's because they kind of both affect the shadow and the lighting. Silhouette is something really cool that you can do with shadows and is different than backlit, so it manipulates the image really cool. When you tell the image to be more or to have more shadows, it also can enhance the lighting or enhance color lighting, as you can see in this little sample image. You say to have more shadows, it's going to enhance those like spotlights with the colors. So you can do some experimentation here with that, mixing different types of shadows with different kinds of lighting. And because it's an AI based thing, you can actually try and do different kinds of things that aren't naturally able to occur. Colors is a really fun part of Midjourney prompts, and here are a couple examples, but you can really do whatever you want with colors. I usually like to put color lists into most of my prompts, putting all the colors that I want to see, and it can do things like in this city street image, it just kind of changes the way that it would look. So something that probably wouldn't exist, kind of that bright color scheme. A lot of people will do something where they tell the background to be a certain color and then change the colors of what is going to be in the foreground. There are a lot of different things you can do with this, and we're going to look at that when we do some examples here in a minute. Now this is for colors like of the whole image scheme, but you should also be aware that you can tell Midjourney the colors of specific things in the image, specific subjects, specific items, but when you add just keywords of colors, it's going to add that to the overall image, not just specific things, and it usually chooses that itself. For example, if you said greens and reds and the image was of nature, it'll probably put greens where it would naturally be, and then maybe put red flowers occasionally, things like that. If it's more of an artificial setting, it'll probably add it to the lights. So you have to kind of steer it if you want to, or just put those on there and it'll add it to the lights or to the subjects wherever it wants to. Okay, let's switch over and run some actual examples so you can see these things in action. Okay, so here we are in the Discord shell. Yes, I'm still using the Discord shell and not the online Midjourney version. Don't ask me why. Let's take a look at this prompt, the first one that we're going to run. So I'm using the angle and type of shot at the beginning like I talked about in the second video. So if you haven't seen the second video, I go through some of that stuff, so you should go back and watch that. And then I have some of the lighting things that I showed, doing this generation at twilight, soft shadows, bokeh, and then some of the colors. I do a color list here, greens and oranges, to get those to be the main colors included in the image. Composition, I have the overall setting, which is a cliffside, trying to get the ocean in the background, house in the foreground. So this is kind of how you would structure a more advanced prompt for Midjourney. So let's see what we get, and we'll try some other styles to see what we get from those. All right, so here we have the results. So let's take a look. You can see from this, we've got some nice depth, including like the foreground and the background keywords in the prompt gives you that. So you've got some out of focus things, kind of like that bokeh in the front, and then the house in the next level and the ocean at the background level. You can see the green and orange in the image included subtly, like the tips of these flowers are orange here, and then lots of green, obviously. But it hasn't just included those two colors, which is cool. The twilight setting is actually one that I haven't played with. It's actually very nice. I really actually quite like this image here. May have to use that later. Okay, let's try something else, maybe something a little bit crazier. Okay, let's try this. This has got some more of a artificial lighting vibe here, and gonna add motion blur to it and see what that does. I'm not sure what it'll do, but it should do something interesting with the car. All right, so yeah, like I said, it's quite a bit crazier. But you can see where we got kind of that motion blur going on in this one more prominently. This one seems to have actually included laser beams, sort of, which is interesting. And then you got that neon lighting, the keywords, blue and red light. You can see how that is taken here. Some of it's like this one kind of divides the image. This one includes it throughout. That's something you can do. It's really cool for subject lighting. And then of course the high angle. So you can see how you get like a lot more control when you can add all these different keywords together in the prompt. All right, I'm gonna do one more. All right, I'm gonna try this prompt. We'll have a human subject and see if we can try this dappled light, which is a cool effect that I haven't actually used too much. Muted tones to get some more quiet colors, and then the environmental shadows. All right, so here we go. As you can see, kind of those quieter tones and colors. Dappled light kind of has this like filtered light, like sunlight through a window or through leaves. So that's an interesting effect. I actually think this one's pretty cool. It didn't really take portrait, but I mean, these are sort of that way. But overall, I think it's a pretty good result. All right, so that wraps up for this episode, episode 3. Episode 4 is in the works. Not sure when that's going to come out, but I've got some more different AI tool videos coming out soon as well. So make sure to like this video, subscribe, share it with somebody you think it would help, and I'll see you in the next one.